Hi guys, Blake here with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on beautiful upper Lake Taneycomo. It is Thursday, the 14th of January, and I'm going to do the one cast for you today. Oh, today I boated up. I'm just right around the corner from the Acacia Club boat ramp, and I'm gonna do the one cast for you today. So yesterday they were biting pretty good on the Scuds, drifting underneath a float. Today I'm gonna try it a little different on this rig here. Got a spin cast rod. This is one of our Lilley's Landing 6'6" medium light rods with a fast action. That's on a presidential Pflüger 30. I've got the Trilene XL smooth cast 4-pound test here, and I've got about 4 foot of leader with 2 size 12. Can't really see that one, my glove's covering it up. Anyway, they're both the same Scud, 2 size 12 peppy gray Scuds, about 4 foot of that 4-pound leader, and I've got a 1/4 ounce weight on a snap swivel, Carolina rig style, with a size 12 barrel swivel there. And we're going to try drifting this here outside the trophy area. This 1/4 ounce weight might be a little heavy. I was anticipating the wind that was blowing a little bit ago to be a little stronger. We got some strong wind gusts today. That feels like it's ticking all right. Fishing reports for today. We've got some boats out on the water. I really haven't had much of a chance to talk to. I know the Bounds group said that they started off with jigs this morning, but that the jig bite wasn't going so well. But one member of their group this morning off of the dock did catch a 27-inch almost 8-pound rainbow off the dock this morning. Really beautiful fish. There's that wind I was looking for. And they caught that on shrimp. I believe it's like that TV dinner shrimp. They caught a big brown off the dock last night when we were pulling in from the one cast, doing the same thing, off of fishing the shrimp off the dock there. This method here can be really effective for drifting flies with this little drift rig here. You just got to make sure you get the right bounce across the bottom. That takes just adjusting the size of your weight. Right now this 1/4 ounce weight with the wind blowing down the lake is just about right. In a regular 2 units of water without the wind, I'd probably use more like a 3/16 ounce. But I do have a good bounce going here. Ooh. And right now I'm just, well, we're right next to the boat ramp now, but I'm basically just drifting straight down the center. Yesterday after one cast, we drifted that edge over there near the boat ramp. Didn't really get any bites, but once we got out more towards the center, we started getting some bites on the scuds. So it'd been a while since I drug them on a drift rig. I just wanted to see if that would work today. Something I do while I'm dragging scuds like this is I'll slowly lift up on my rod a few inches and I slowly let it back down. It kind of adds a wave to the scuds, and sometimes that makes them look a little more natural. But ideally, if I make the leader length right for the flow, so the faster the flow, the longer the leader, more spaced out you want your flies. If I make that leader length right, then it'll kind of wave by itself behind the weight. But if it's too short, it doesn't have that chance to wave. It just kind of sticks to the bottom. If it's too long, it does the same thing. So I always like to make sure that I've got the proper length of leader for my flies, for how fast the water's running, and the proper weight. Generally, I'd say about 4 to 5 foot of leader, somewhere in there, for 1 or 2 flies is about right for 2 units. Once you get into that 3 and 4 unit range, you're looking to be throwing more like 6 foot of leader from your weight to your bottom fly. And then, you know, just the opposite. Once the flow starts decreasing, you just keep shortening your leader and decreasing your weight. Some other tricks you can use to get it to the bottom, you know, depending on the wind blowing. Like I said, I kind of increased my size a little bit because the wind is blowing downstream. But some other tricks is you can cast straight out sideways and let the bait swing back. Usually if you cast sideways instead of straight back, it'll pull the bait to the bottom faster. Or if you're not feeling the bottom, you can release a couple feet of line and close the bail again. That'll get your bait back to the bottom if you can't feel it there. But you really want to feel that bait ticking about like this. About every 1 or 2 seconds you want to feel it touching the bottom, bouncing. If it's dragging, it's too heavy, and if you're not feeling the bottom very much at all, then you don't have enough weight. And getting it in that right zone and getting those flies to do that motion is definitely key. But I'm gonna go ahead, reel this in and check it for moss. I know that 3 units that we had running there for a second kind of helped clear things up a little bit. And I don't have any moss. So I'm gonna give this a little cast over to the side. And whenever I cast out, before I close the bail, I lift up and release a few extra feet, give it some extra room to get to the bottom quicker. And this can be done with just about any fly. You can drag those pine squirrels across the bottom. I know that the white pine squirrel obviously works great whenever there's shad coming through, but I know some of those other colors, like the olive or the black, can work dragging them across the bottom. And I've even heard of people putting woolly buggers on there and dragging them across the bottom, so on a drift rig. So you can try out all kinds of stuff. Another thing you can do to try to control how your bait is bouncing across the bottom, you can point the boat nose forward upstream, and you can constantly just kind of tap your trolling motor and slow the boat down that way to keep your bait bouncing across the bottom how you want it, especially if you get into a wind like I'm getting into right now, which I'm actually going to go ahead and just point my nose forward. But I'd say first things first, the most important thing is to keep that bait bouncing like it needs to be bouncing. Then you can worry about leader length and all that stuff. Right next to the long dock here. Coming up on Short Creek. Started off at 53 degrees by 10 a.m. this morning, and we got some cloud cover rolling in, and it's dropped about 10 degrees since 10 this morning already. A little colder out here. I do have one other rig with me here. It's a double Scud rig. It's set up on the spin cast rod with all the same equipment that we were talking about earlier. The only difference is I made it about 1 foot longer, and I have a smaller Scud on the end of it, and I'm just gonna go ahead and see if that little bit of leader length makes the difference here. We got the same weight, but the end Scud's a little smaller and the rig's a little longer. I'm also going to scoot a little bit out towards the middle here. And so if you have the opportunity when you come out here to do this and you've got multiple rods, you can go ahead and set them up just a little bit different like that. Different size Scuds, different colors, 1 leader a little longer, one leader a little shorter, and just switch between them until you find which combination seems to be working the best. But I have noticed, probably out of the last month, that whenever I fish the Scuds, I have seemed to have done better underneath a float than I have dragging them like this. There is another trick you can do, which I tried a couple months ago, is take a really, really small float. I'm talking, you know, about as small as you can get them, and do a tandem, you know, a double Scud rig, and toothpick that little float between your two flies, and it kind of floats them up off the bottom a little bit more. And that did work that day I tried it. I just haven't got to experiment much with it. Really looks like it wants to rain, but I don't think it's gonna. I guess we'll drift these down to, we'll go all the way down to Trout Hollow. There's been a few times where I was drifting scuds and started doing real good on them, kind of right there on the other side of Trout Hollow's dock. Whew. Excuse me. I can't believe I haven't had a bite yet. Now I've got a proper bounce going on. Oh, that was a bite for sure. Sometimes you just got to talk about not getting a bite, and then you'll get a bite. I don't know how many times I've been fishing and said, man, we're just not catching any fish, and then somebody catches one. I felt like I got hooked on some moss there. You do want to bring these in and check them. That's something you got to do. If you get any moss on there, they're not going to take it. There is a little bit of moss on that bottom fly. Alright, well, the fishing is definitely slow here for me today. It's funny how that works. One day, yesterday, they're biting the crud out of it, and today I can't hardly get a bite. I think here soon I'm going to start giving the egg patterns a little more attention as these rainbows go into their spawning. I've talked to a couple guys out here that have been using the trout beads and the egg patterns here in the last week or so, and they said they're catching some fish on them, so probably going to be a pretty good bet here soon. Well, that's the bottom. And be prepared to lose some of these. Alright, lost the whole rig on that one. Oh! I'll try this for a couple more minutes here. Have to blast that thing out there. You kind of just give it a nice toss 20-30 feet away from the boat. This is John Sappington. just about down to Trout Hollow, and I think I can only account for one bite here. That's just fishing for you. But I will say that this method is effective. You got to play around with those things I talked about, with your weight size and the length of your leader and how far apart your flies are, depending on how fast the current's running. And it is a very effective way to catch fish out here, even though I didn't prove that one today. Alright, well, I made it down to Trout Hollow, and I'm gonna have to give the fish the victory today. But we thank you guys for watching. Like and share us on Facebook, and we'll get out here and do it for you again tomorrow. Thanks, guys.